The morning had started like any other. I woke up to the sound of the alarm clock and got up to get my son ready and drop him off at a daycare before going to work. After trying to get him up 4 times in a quick breakfast, we arrived at daycare. There were several fathers and mothers who had arrived in a hurry and with just enough time to get to our respective jobs. I left my son with a smile and a kiss goodbye and wished him a good day full of games and learning with his teachers. That morning, I had a lot of work. My boss had scheduled me to accompany him to several meetings and he wanted the documents at the same time. That was impossible. I wouldn't have time to get to daycare at the usual time. Since my boss had been looking like a bad friend all day, I guessed that it wouldn't be a good idea to tell him that I would finish it the next day. So resigned, I decided on the second option. Called the daycare and asked them to do me the favor of allowing my little one to stay later. I would arrive before closing time. When I called on the phone, the guy at the front desk told me there was no problem. Lucas could stay there as long as I needed. That gave me instant relief. I could finish all the work and my little one, meanwhile, would continue having fun playing with other children. When the afternoon arrived, I headed to pick him up. I had arrived exactly 10 minutes before closing time. However, upon entering the building, I noticed an unusual silence. There was no kids' laughter or the bustle that was always heard when entering. I thought that perhaps at that time there weren't many children, and now only my little one was left entertained with a toy. However, as I moved forward, I felt a strange sensation. The guy at the reception was not there, nor did I see anyone else there. I entered one of the open rooms, the one with security cameras, and there I found a sheet that said, "For a parent searching for his missing child, time is a very delicate thing." I started to shake. If that was a joke, it was in very bad taste. All the doors were closed, there was no sound, and my little one didn't appear. That message being there didn't seem like a coincidence to me. It was addressed to me. I was the parent looking for the missing son, but I would find him, I had no doubt of it. Tired of waiting, I grabbed a key card at the reception desk. Thanks to that card, I managed to enter the maintenance room. I was surprised to see that there was only one drone with its controller and a letter. I felt my stomach turn when I recognized Lucas' handwriting. The letter said, "Dear Mummy, I'm hiding in a room, but I have to fight the monster. It's the only chance to get Claire to like me." At the bottom of the page, my son had drawn himself fighting one of the daycare characters, the opila bird, to protect a girl. I didn't know what to think. It was clear that that image was the fruit of my little one's imagination, but it was all very strange. I put the letter in my pocket and grabbed the drone next to me to see if it would help me find out anything. In the hall, there was a large mural where the protagonists were the nursery pets. I knew everyone, as Lucas always came home telling stories about them and singing songs with their names. The red one was Banban, the leader of all, which is why the kindergarten had his name. His mission was to teach children to share. The green one was Jumbo Josh. He was the mascot in charge of teaching the children to eat fruits and vegetables. The orange jellyfish was Stinga Flynn. His mission was to teach the little ones to help. The pink bird was Opila bird, the same one my son had drawn in his letter. This one taught children the importance of smiling. There was also the blue mascot, who was Captain Fiddles, and the white one, Bumbleina, who taught to be kind. I wanted to activate the drone, but I realized it had no battery. I approached the cafeteria tables, and there I found just what I needed, a battery. I used the drone to activate some large red buttons that were quite high up. While I was doing it, I began to think that this place had a fairly advanced technology system for it being just a daycare. Drones, card scanners. Wasn't it enough to lock the doors with a key? Thanks to the activation of the red button, the yellow door to the creativity area opened automatically. On the other side, I could see a long hallway. Suddenly, I saw a bird identical to the one in the mural, a opila bird, looking out from one of the rooms. I assumed it was some sculpture or doll from the side, so I went closer to see it better. However, suddenly that bird moved and hid inside. Was I going crazy? That couldn't be real. Have I seen a giant doll alive? But when I looked inside, there was nothing. My mind and my nerves were playing tricks on me. Next door was a classroom with colorful tables and chairs. Everything seemed normal until I saw that there was a text written on the board that said, "The end is here." I was scared. From the handwriting, I would say that it had been written by a child. I continued observing the classroom and discovered a corner where the little ones were taken as punishment. I clenched my fists when I saw that area. I wasn't like the way they cared for minors in that center. Of course, as soon as I found Lucas, I wouldn't take him to that terrible place again. But that was not the worst thing I discovered there. Banban's drawing adorned one of the walls, and next to him it had written the following message: "Sharing is caring. Your pancreas is mine." Where the hell had I sent my son? In the punishment corner, I found another of the red buttons, but it was deactivated. There was a sensor, but it didn't have a card. I looked around, but nothing turned up. I went out to the main hallway and activated another of the sensors. Suddenly, the lights came on in another room. It was a huge play area, with trees, swings, a little boat, and a giant wooden structure with slides. I noticed that in one of the corners there was a statue of Opila bird next to a message that said the following: "Opila bird mission. Opila bird is unbelievably hungry. Feed it 6 eggs to get your prize." I imagine it would be a game for the little ones so they could develop their skills while having fun. Next to the sculpture there was an access to the ball pit, but the passage was sealed with a couple of wooden boards. Someone had closed it. I knew it was absurd, but I decided to feed the bird the 6 eggs to find out what the prize was. It didn't take me long to find 5 of them. One inside the boat, another behind some logs, but the last one resisted me. I climbed a wooden structure and suddenly I noticed a light. It was a sensor. When I activated it, it allowed me to find the last of the eggs. With my mission accomplished, I returned to feed the bird, and the prize that came out of its mouth was a yellow card. I quickly remembered the red button in the punishment room, so I ran over there and used the card to activate it. With the drone, I pressed the button and suddenly a door of some kind of closet opened. Inside were 2 things: a hammer and a note that said, "Destruction at 1." I didn't understand the meaning of those words, but what I knew was what I would do with that hammer: break the wooden boards leading to the ball pit. When I managed to get to the other side, I found a huge dark room that had a large drop at the bottom, in the center. This was nothing like a ball pit. If a child fell in there, they would be killed. It was so deep and dark that I couldn't see the end of that hole. I turned my gaze, and very close to the access, I saw that there were some stains on the wall. They looked like footprints of a giant bird. I assumed they were just drawings painted on the wall, like the others. Suddenly, I saw that there was another sensor next to me. I activated it, and that caused a kind of floating platform to come down from the ceiling. It seemed like a way to transport yourself from one side of the room to the other. I wasn't surprised that they had that access closed. That was super dangerous for any child. If this was the only way to see if there were any clues on the other side, I had to climb on top. So I didn't hesitate and jumped onto the seat. I stood still as the structure slowly carried me. When I got to the other side of the room, I saw a new mural on the wall with a riddle. I had to select the color of each monster. It wasn't difficult for me, I knew them all. When I was about to finish the game, I saw a note on the floor, and I read it out loud. "I just want to play in the bird hole, but everyone abandoned me. Everyone has a party without me. Miss Mason saw me, but she left. I'm scared because the hole is noisy and my friends scream in it. But the bird is funny." Because of the spelling and writing errors, I realized it was a message from a child. I went straight back to the puzzle to finish solving it, and at the end, a new closet opened next to me. Inside was another card. This time, it was orange. It was clear that it would be necessary to access another area of the nursery. Just as I was grabbing it, I heard a scream. I turned around and I could see a giant monster. It was a Opila bird and it was alive. It was coming in my direction, standing on one of the platforms that brought it closer to the side where I was. My heart started beating 1,000 per hour. The bird kept staring at me. I had escaped from there. I went up a small ramp and it was there that I realized there was another red button. Thanks to the drone, I activated it and suddenly a wooden floor mechanism appeared that I could use to get to the other side. Opila didn't like that and it started chasing me down the catwalk. Then I ran with all my strength like I had never done before. I couldn't let it catch me. Lucas' life was in danger. When I reached the floor on the other side, I saw an emergency button on the wall. I activated it while the bird was still walking along the wooden walkway and suddenly, the monster fell into the depths of the room. I breathed a sigh of relief, although I knew I wasn't out of the woods yet. That place was terrible. I decided to go back to the reception hall to find some other clue. As I passed by the cafeteria, an object caught my attention. On top of one of the tables there was a recorder, an old cassette, and a text painted on the wood that said, "For you." It was clear that I wasn't alone. Someone was playing with me because that recorder wasn't there when I entered. With trembling hands, I put the tape inside and listened to the message. I couldn't understand anything, only noises and children's screams could be heard. I prayed with my eyes closed that my son would be safe. At the end of the recording, I ran to open one of the doors that I hadn't yet crossed. There was a small room with a large television on the wall. Next to it, there was a table with a computer. I approached the desk and could see that there was a plane ticket on it. The ticket was for October 23rd, 2016, and was in the name of a man named Uthman Adam. The flight left the city of Montreal in Canada, bound for Spain, more specifically, Madrid. On one side was a QR code, so I took my phone out of my pocket to scan it, hoping to discover something else. Suddenly on my phone screen, I saw an image of the nursery characters and a message that said, "Congratulations, you arrived at Jumbo Josh's living room. This is where he and his brothers come to rest. Intruders are usually beaten to a pulp, but it seems like you've worked hard to get to this place. You can stay as long as you want, play relaxing music, eat some cake, and make some friends." That ticket was fake. It was surely just another game in that horrible place. Not only were they playing with the kids, I was sure they were playing with me too. I searched the entire room to see if there were any more clues, and suddenly I saw lights shining on one side of the table. It was another sensor. I activated it and another red button came out of the wall. I grabbed the drone and used it to press it. I suddenly took several steps back when I saw part of the ground slowly sliding downwards. A few seconds later, that wooden floor had disappeared into the depths and in its place an old, dilapidated elevator went up. I knew that entering there was going into the den of the wolf, but my son could be under there. I couldn't just leave without checking it out. Without giving myself time to hesitate, I got on top of that kind of elevator and activated its sensor. Slowly, I began to descend. I saw how the room where I had been was above my head as I walked into the darkness. Suddenly, the elevator stopped dead. I looked everywhere, but I couldn't make out anything. It was too dark. And a few seconds later, I heard a moan from something that wasn't human. It resembled the sound of a whale. An alarm began to sound at a very high volume. I didn't know what was happening. I couldn't do anything. I couldn't even get out of there. But it didn't take me long to find out where that moan was coming from. Out of the darkness emerged a gigantic version of Jumbo Josh. It grabbed the bars of the elevator while looking at me with those huge eyes that took my breath away. That beast was trying to hang from the elevator, and with its weight, it collapsed and I ended up falling into the terrible darkness with it. To be continued? Ask us in the comments for part 2 if you have been wanting to know how the story of Garten of Banban continues. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like it, and if you want to see more Draw My Life videos, subscribe to our channel. See you in the next episode!